everyone. Mercury, are you standing in for Venkat?
He hasn't said anything to me that he's not coming.
Yeah, I got a message that he wouldn't. I believe that was for today. Let me double check that it was for today. No, that was last week. He should be here.
But yeah, I mean, if he cannot come, I'll stand in.
Yeah, but he should be. All right. So I got the the TSC channel message that we want to review this pull request 899. Was that correct?
If it's my pull request, sure, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one you submitted. Maybe, I mean, let's walk through what's there and find out the jobs and whatnot that need to be done. I know there was. Have you gotten any feedback on that one so far?
I got some feedback, but I saw it also getting merged yesterday.
Okay. I mean, again, it's fine that it can be merged, and then we can still review it out. Merge. Well, you'll walk us through it, and we'll discuss it. Does anyone have any other topics? I had another topic lined up, but the people who were going to deliver that one but got delayed by other circumstances, so we'll defer that one. There's Venkat. So we'll defer that. Anyway, I have another topic coming, and that'll happen, I think, next week. That's the 14th. Yeah, that'll happen on the 14th. All right, and so the only one we're missing that I expect to show is Dan.
Hi, Joe. Simon sends his apologies. I don't know if Stephen mentioned, but I guess Stephen and I are standing in for him.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Actually, so the only item I had is review the lab document pull request. Does anyone have anything else?
Joe, I'd like to anybody who currently needs access to the lab, we've put a VPN in place, and I'll need to get usernames and that sort of stuff and send passwords to them. So if folks want access to the lab, Slack me or send me an email, and let me know, and I can set that up. We don't have an external authentication mechanism yet. At one point, we were talking about using Git as an OAuth to Git to as an external authentication, but I think Boris had Boris did not think that was a good idea, or he thought we should wait on that. So
What was the reason for waiting?
I don't know. It was just, oh, don't do that. That's not a good idea.
And what was not a good idea?
Using Git as a external authentication mechanism for the VPN, so people would use their Git credentials to log in.
What was
So
the consequence of that? I mean, all of the people working on this project could get there. What would the
Exactly.
additional consequences be? Anyone with Git who knew about the lab could authenticate?
It's possible that's the consequence. I
That
don't
would,
know.
if that's the case, that would be not the best way to proceed.
But it's not gonna be everybody with Git access. It will be just a group. We'll make it on a group that
Right, it'll
has lab.
probably
Yeah.
Oh, and then use Git to, okay, so you'd have a Git group that has controls, and you would just simply use Git as an external identity check / authentication mechanism. Then I would like to know his objection.
right. I
could,
just haven't had a chance to ask him that. So
yeah,
Rich and I were going to ask him that
yeah.
objection was.
Ask him and let me know. You know, or see, you know, do it in Slack and just include me in the thread because I'm curious as to what the trade-offs are there. Because I can't think of what the problem is off the top of my head, but I mean, other than the fact that you're relying on a third party authentication service. But as you say, okay, but if you could create a private group within Git that says that's the pool of access, seems like an easy way to check the membership and so on. But a direct VPN login is only annoying; it's not terrible.
Right. At this point, I don't think that a direct VPN login is going to be. I mean,
It's annoying to you because since you have to keep adding manually.
yeah, I've got to manage it, but it's only 20. I mean, I'm only expecting 20 people or so.
Yeah. Well, it's also,
So-
you got to go type that password in and maintain a separate password as opposed to using a one already, single sign-on style, all that good, but it's merely a small annoyance, not a terrible thing. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, let's find out what the
So-
objection is, because that's at least not a bad idea to see if we can use Git as an external site use that in that way. I'm sorry,
Perfect.
I'm mumbling today. All right.
So,
Anything else?
yeah, so just following on from last week from Dan Daly's
Yes, sir.
shared PR, we had a discussion internally at Red Hat and think that a good way forward would be to try and fairly aggressively scope down to like core 3 things that we could do in a milestone 1 or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know if here's the right forum to do that, or if we should have that discussion on the PR or defer that to the API meeting.
My answer will be yes. Those are all perfectly good ways to achieve it. We could do it here. You could put a straw man together in either the PR discussion or API, or more than a straw man. You could put up here's what we want to do and bring it here, and we can say a vote. We could actually agree. You could also call for a vote, say we want to make this official, and get feedback on whether people can contribute useful brains to that activity or not, and whether they agree with the approach or not. There's no set path. Ultimately, we would want to do a review here if we're going to say, hey, that's what we agree on and that's our first release, and we'll then write a thing that says that's our official release, and let's figure out how to get it done and start organizing people to to get that release done, if you have an idea of what that should be.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we-
It sounds like putting together a proposal and writing that up on the PR and then bringing it to here maybe next week.
Next week would be great. Yeah, I mean, we could even start the work here, but that's it's probably better to have working meeting or do it in writing on the PR or something.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not even opposed to that. Well, it depends on how much time it takes us to go through the lab pull request and what's there, and why that's needed, and sort of tearing that apart. But yeah, that's great. Okay, so that's an excellent one for next week. Um, uh, send me a Slack message either on the TSC channel or directly. Um, you know, tomorrow or Monday or something if you want a time slot.
Sure.
Okay.
And yeah, if we get through the other stuff on today's agenda, we could at least maybe start discussing it. That would be good too.
That's why I say, yeah, we can always do that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we still have the maintainer policy update, the release structure efficiency, you're already in there on what we want to do for release. You're already in there in future.
Sure.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. So Mercho, please walk us through what
Sure.
you got.
Let me start sharing.
And Paul, I don't know if you had any comment to kick off while he's sharing.
No, I mean, he's done a great job. Lots of really, it's a big PR, but lots of good stuff there.
Okay, but yeah, it's still not done. So basically, this kind of marks the closing of phase 1 of the lab, and we are moving in phase 2. What is left from phase 1 is that we don't have, let's say, a management server dedicated. At this moment, we are double rolling a DPU host with a management server. It should arrive. It was supposed to arrive somewhere in January. It's March and it hasn't arrived. Hopefully by the end of March will arrive. But other than that, with this, we can conclude phase 1 of the lab. So there are about 37 files here. I'll go through them. Each file has just a small content in it. So all the files, or most of the files, are located in the lab folder. And before in the lab folder, we had goals and requirements, and we had the BOM. This was pre-existing. What has been added, it's physical testbed setup and everything. So now we have a diagram with how the rack looks in the lab physically. We have the top of the rack switch configured and up. We have a serial console aggregator. We have a KVM for the video mouse for the servers. We have the F5 big IP for VPN. We have 3 servers, out of which the third one is an ARM. The first 2 are x86, each hosting a DPU, Pensando, Bluefield, and Marvel CN106. We have a 100 gig switch to run the test traffic. Yeah, this is for management. This is to run the test traffic. And we have a server with standard NICs that we can use to generate traffic. And, depending on how we push the config on this switch, we can route the traffic from this one to the DPU that we want. The color of these wires doesn't mean anything. It's just, be able to identify the wire easier in this spider web diagram here. This is an SVG, so you can actually zoom, I don't know, all the way down to the, probably it's better than a browser if you have a viewer. On the diagram here, you have the model of each device, kind of how they are connected, and you have the IP of the device. And we have a power strip that is network controlled. So I'll actually show a few of these things. So I may not have the VPN set up, but anyway,
So-
um,
So
we'll go through.
I
Yeah.
have one comment on this if you scroll up.
Okay.
So I used to wire up racks when I did physics stuff like this all the time. So that's beautiful. Sorry, humor. It's a bit of humor. Keep going.
Yeah. If somebody has an idea how to do this diagram with these wires
No,
better,
that wasn't actually a criticism. These are
no,
hard to draw in a structured way, just like structured cabling. You know, you actually have to put thought into it. You know, I agree with you. If anybody has a way to make this a little easier to track, you know, please go edit the diagram or speak up or something, or don't speak up here, but you know, please go edit the diagram or volunteer. But no, this is perfectly fine.
yeah,
It's
why I'm saying
slight
this is
humor.
because I got the guys from HE that are hosting the lab telling me towards the end is like, man, this became a spider web here. How am I supposed to know which port to which port? Because you know, I log
Okay.
bugs to them basically if they plug it wrong.
Okay, so you have an actual practical reason. I have, I think I have. Okay, I think I have a way to do this. Let me go. Let me go look and see it. I'll copy it and see if I have a way to draw this super clean. I'll go do that. Well, I'll go do that now. All right, keep going.
All right, so this is what it's in the lab, how they are plugged, connected, position in the rack. And we have a switch that is just a 1 gig switch with 24 ports that basically we ran out of ports, so we had to upgrade, and this was kind of provided by HE. This we had to buy. Okay, so now each device has a folder and a page. And here it's not a lot of information, but at least it has a page as a starter. So it says the purpose of the device, what is a device, the part number, and so on. We can manage it via serial port, or it has a 1 gig port for management in the back, and some pictures and the data sheet. And it goes like this for all the devices. The serial console, part number, the version of the firmware, kind of what it's doing, and how it looks like. And it keep going like this. Probably the F5, I don't think I added pictures or anything, because that's probably just a placeholder in there. The
Yep.
servers, I need to add more info, but basically it says I changed the power settings and so on. For example, I host files here, like for example, for DPU host 3, let me open the folder. I create folders that are called file system basically, and it shows what it has, because I need to create custom files besides the Ubuntu distribution to put this service in there. Otherwise, links don't come up on the management NIC, and basically you cannot access it. And if we look at, let's say, Arista, for example, this one, the switch in here, in the folder, we have what it is. We have also the config that it's on, the default config on the dot. Somehow, I don't know, somebody messes up. If you want to restore it, just copy paste this thing, and it should be back up and running. And I plan to have also for the servers, especially the management server, same like the DHCP config put in here. If we have, I don't know, we have a bunch of other things that we brought up for data storage, visualization, and so on. So all these custom configs, we can store them in here so people can restore them if they want. We also have, let's go back a bit. This is the cables and fibers part numbers that we have purchased for 100 gig for the SFP to 10 G base T or 1 gig RJ45 and so on. We have a document with how we do it, IP allocations in the lab. This overlaps a bit with the DHCP configs that I'll upload soon. But basically we set up on 172.22/16 network. Maybe this is a typo. No, it's not. Network. Here's the only observations that I have is that if your private network in your company uses these IPs, they may clash. If you VPN, from work, it may clash. This was a set of IPs which, I don't know, with people that I ask are not clashing with their company network. So
Right.
this is why we chose it.
And the VPN is a split tunnel VPN, so it will only direct traffic that you send out of your client that's destined for the 172.22 network through the VPN. The rest of it will go out to the internet where it needs to.
Yeah, but if your local
But
lab
if your company
has
is using 172, then it's a
172.22,
problem. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it will hijack you.
Mhm.
But so far I haven't seen the problem with this IP, but we can change it. So it's not a problem if we see feedback about it. All the IPs are locked on MAC of the device. So in the DHCP server configuration, each device that we have has a MAC. We associate the IP with a MAC. Every time it boots up, it guaranteed to come with that IP. Any device that we have no idea what it is, or we haven't configured it yet, will come somewhere in this range. And somehow bunch of interfaces from the Bluefield 2, around 4 of them, they come up here. I saw extra, and 2 other devices that I have no idea what's there, but we have some devices that they come there. These are the IPs. What else do we have? This is some configuration on servers. We install Ubuntu and some other packages that we install on top, and Docker. Docker install, usually here it's a copy paste, but follows the Docker manual of installing Docker, because if they change the method, this will become obsolete. And what else? Some network configuration if needed. This is mostly for the management servers that needs to have a static IP, where we have also the DHCP server. And if we wanna clone the OPI POC for testing, we can do that. This is part of the lab. And since the lab is up, we want to also show that it's working. So we have here a few more files. So under demos, dgens, that is there from the past. I did few updates to it to change some core allocation parameters and so on, IPs to match not what I have internally in my lab, but actually to match the OPI lab. And the self-hosted runner that before was just running on Action LS, now it's set up to run a traffic test through the Bluefield 2 card. This runner, it's set up on manual trigger. But I don't think I have rights to trigger it. So I actually couldn't verify it here. It ran. I verified it once from my repo before putting the files here, but will be good to trigger it once from here to make sure it works. So I don't know, somebody with access to OPI POC, if you go to actions, we have this OPI lab regression. And if you can trigger this runner, will be great to see if I messed up anything in there. Questions? I don't know. This is a short summary of this PR.
No, Richard, I think it's great. It's a great set of documentation, and it's from someone who's built labs in the past and that sort of thing. It gives me a roadmap to figure out what to do next. I mean, how to connect and how to use this and where things are and what their purpose is, all that good stuff. It's excellent.
But now it's like I need help to fill this if people want, more details and so on. So as people start accessing the lab and ask, hey, how do I do that? How do I do the other? Like this one. It's one line of text, but it's here. So as people ask about it, probably we'll start filling the information.
Yep.
So it becomes general knowledge.
Richa, we said phase one is access to like CI/CD, not individual access. So if that's the case, we're talking about adding usernames and passwords for firewall and things like that. That's just to maintain the lab, or is it like people are using it, want to use it as individual test beds?
The lab has currently bunch of tasks that we wanna still do. And people that want to contribute to bringing the lab up, and enhancing the lab are taking on this task. So for example, I don't know, if let's say Paul wants to connect to the lab to do this task, he will be a user that will get access. So he's still part of phase one. I don't know, I see Drew here. If he wants to do this, he will have to get access. So as of now, it's a small group that is getting access in order to complete lab tasks.
Still building the lab, not like individual.
It's not general availability. Yeah, it's not free for
because
all.
all hell will break loose once, even if you have two people.
Yeah. So at this moment, we are concluding phase one. Like I said, we are still waiting for a server that was supposed to arrive months ago and hasn't. But the management server basically has been overlapped with DPU host one. So all the configuration, everything, this holds a role. This has a GitHub runner and everything on it. It shouldn't. It will be a separate server. So if people need to configure this in a certain way, they don't mess up the management of the lab. But the lab is usable. So this is why I said with this, we are concluding phase one. So now we need to start working on phase two of the lab and see, since we have the VPN and everything, how we do this GitHub authentication, start putting policies in place, who can start getting access. So I would say right now the discussion for phase two, it's open.
Yep.
Right. We said phase one, December 2023.
So
almost finish in March 2024.
so I guess, what do you have an idea of what phase two ought to consist of?
We had here goals and objectives. Let me go back where it was. Goals and requirements.
For this pull request as such, I mean, again, it's being merged, it's fine. But what did you want additional input on? I mean, what did you want additional input on or review on? Because it looks like this is a clean summary of what is. In other words, what's actually there, what's been done. Where do you want more detailed review?
On everything. I mean, people can provide feedback and say, and we had feedback of this, or hey, I don't like the Tor to be the first in the rack. I want the terminal server and KVM to be the first. In the end, we didn't log a task, spend more money on moving those two devices. The rest, we kind of agreed they were fine. So that was the feedback. Position of the devices in the rack. Other feedback would be, hey, I don't like 172.22, has too many twos in it. I want 173.33. Okay, that's not a private, but anyway, I don't know. People can nitpick on
Okay.
anything. So now it's open for everybody to give their 2 cents.
Okay, got it. So you want just a general review of the choices for the layout and settings.
Yeah, anything and everything, people can start providing feedback, and that will also be good because they will say, hey, I need this info, which I cannot find it in these docs. So, that will help enhance the docs. Like I said, I created, they are there, but you see, they have 3-4 lines of text. It's not like.
Yep.
So now we need some meat on the bone, but I'll add it based on the feedback. I don't want to just go there and stump,
And there are pieces and parts of this that I configured that I need to add to this. So having it merged, I can now go add things like, here's the pictures of the F5 devices, here's the config of the F5 devices, here's the information on how to connect to the VPN, here's the information on so I purchased a domain, opiproject-lab.org, and have certificates generated. So a couple of a wildcard certificate. So, yep, here's, yeah, I set it so you had to change your password. But anyway, on first login.
this is.
It'll ask you to download a client and connect. But so there are several things I need to put in these docs that is waiting. So we'll get that taken care of here in the next week. And those will be PRs that need reviews as well. Just to maintain or to review them, and I think anybody can review them.
Do you want the F5 logo on the
I need to get rid of where it says F5 up at the top and welcome to F5 networks. There's a way to change that banner, and I haven't gotten there yet on the config.
Oh, so you're going to change that banner.
Yeah, and I don't like the logo in that box. It scrunched our logo down and made it look silly.
Yeah.
So just silly things like that aren't functional things. But yes, I need to do those things on the config.
Yeah, and I agree with not having a for access. So the other thing that would be nice on this splash page is send people to the GitHub and the website, obviously. Put links in there on this page, even if
Okay, I can do that too. I can, it's what we call a web top, so I can put a link to Git, I can put a link to anything. I could.
Right. And where is the OPI project-lab.org actually hosted? Is this with Hurricane Electric, or are you hosting this as part of the consortium out of an F5 site?
No, I went to Cloudflare and spent.
Oh, Cloudflare. Okay, so Cloudflare is hosting this. Got it. Okay, so this is a Cloudflare hosted gateway, or
No, the gateway is just the DNS name, just the registrar.
just registrar. Okay, so and they serve out this landing page that then redirects you to the lab.
No, this is a pair of F5 devices in the lab itself that serve out this page.
Oh, okay. So we just redirect, and this goes to a pair of F5 devices. Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, it's just I got a DNS domain, and a certificate, so that when you go to this page,
now I understand. Sorry, I was, and that's why it says F. Okay, this all makes sense now. Do we have a network cartoon schematic that shows that has a little diagram with the two F5 devices, and not a rack layout, but a logical diagram that shows labels that it's hosting this and then shows how they're connected into the
So,
network.
okay, so the lab diagram holds place for that as well. So these are the devices. You see how they are connected here. Public IPs, I had them on the diagram. As you see, there are some very small labels here that I kind of deleted. I haven't posted public IPs yet on this diagram. If we want to post it, I'll put them, but we have public IPs. And then to one of the public IPs for the F5, like Paul said, he basically linked this domain to the public IPs that we have from HE for those devices. And here when we have internet, we have, I believe, 32 IPs, whatever, you have the network and the whatever, 30 IPs we have from HE that are public. And some of these devices, we can give them public IPs. For example, the terminal server, which lets me serial into something, it's still on a public IP, but I didn't document that because I don't want people now trying, I don't know, their best hacks to get to this IP.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
But
as that is not on public documentation, we have a private GitHub repo that I still need to update where we may have, let's say, information that shouldn't be public to everyone. And we have also a 1Password account from Linux Foundation where we have the user password for these devices. And while everyone that gets access in the lab, for example, can come and see the network PDU and see, oh, Arista, 2 cables, pull this power and so on.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you want to come here and, I don't know, turn off this device, tough luck. If you don't have the 1Password to have the login, you're not gonna shut down the lab.
Yeah, and of course, if you ping opiproject-lab.org, then our public IP address that I reached
Will be revealed. Yeah.
216, 218, 200, 226. And
Yep.
it turns out I'm about 14 milliseconds away from my house to the lab.
Yeah. And there are things like, for example, but this we still need to build up and so on as we move into phase 2 and we give access to people. Like the serial connectivity, it connects to the KVM to the Tor, and that is, let's say, a user admin. But I created a user OPI that only has serial access to configure the Arista switch that is used to move the test traffic to the DPUs, because as somebody that wants to use the lab, not to build the lab, but actually use the lab, you only need serial access maybe to troubleshoot this device.
Yeah,
You don't care. The other, you have no business going on the KVM and changing the configuration.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I can argue, well, yeah, you probably need to configure the Arista for some tests.
Yeah, I mean, it's put, let's say, in switch port, but then everything goes to everywhere. I don't know, storage, whatever. There will be use cases that people will want, don't want to. They may have their own configs, yeah. Maybe they want to configure an IP on the interface. They don't want switch
that's
port.
right. No, I'm saying there are explorations and development and test stuff we'd want to run that you'd have to configure the Arista as well as the DPUs themselves. Perfect. And and I guess, okay, so when are we getting, so Dan, when are we getting an IPU for the lab? When can we buy it? Or do we?
We have three.
That may not be something. Don't answer that. We probably can't. We probably can't talk about that right now. But we definitely will want one of those, right?
Yeah. Wait. No, I can answer it. I believe it is already in the lab. We do
You
not
simply don't have a server to put it into.
We do not have a server to put it in.
Oh, okay.
Paul reached out and got a list of qualified servers, and we ordered the server. The whatever the POs or whatever came with the wrong shipping address and wrong billing address. So Sridhar it's following up on getting the right addresses and going through the motions. But
Got it.
it's, yeah, it arrived, it's physically there. We have nowhere to plug it in.
Okay. Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. This is all good. Anybody have any other questions?
Okay, one other thing that I will do, and we can see if we want to make it public or not, it's like a inventory. So for example, let's say we bought 20 100 gig cables. To have a table where it says purchased 20 cables, used 14, available 6. Because when you log a task to HG and you add another device, you need to, you know, buy every single screws that you need. Otherwise, these guys are going to be like, oh, okay, so tough luck. So you have to see if we still have, but I'll see if that we make it public or we keep it on the private GitHub. So
Yeah, I don't think either way that
something
didn't.
pending.
Do you have a sense for how much we've spent with HE Smart Hands to do things? I know it's
Yeah,
like,
but not for this meeting, but
well,
yeah.
I assume it's still within the large budget that we have. So,
Oh yeah, it's
okay.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I will. Joe, you asked about a diagram. That's the one diagram I put together for, you've got the two big IPs, public internet, how traffic is getting them back to this network.
This thing.
Yeah, this is how the big IPs are configured right now.
Yeah. So we should have a version of, so do we want to put this on the GitHub or leave it on the
Right, that's just
Google
it.
Drive? Eesh. Okay, that's fine. Maybe
You know, really, it's the only thing that you would not be able to get with a ping on this is that there are two device. You'd know that there are two devices in an HA pair. That's
Right.
it.
That's all right. We'll think about that.
Well, and then you would also know which space we're using internally, but you get that from looking at the other docs.
Correct. All right. Let's see. I mean, if we're going to be open, there's some advantages being open. And if somebody wants to attack OPI, I guess we'll find out about it through the big IP servers or appliances and go for I mean, any place is open to attack, and Hurricane Electric will care about that. The service provider will care about that. So I'm not too worried, and I trust the F5 device. So all right, we'll think about that. Any other comments or questions on this? This is really excellent, guys. Getting everything up and running and actually usable.
Yeah.
So we
So
should
now,
Merch has done a ton of work here, just so you know.
This
It's
is fantastic.
so now I would say people should start contributing tests that we want to run on this gear. So now the gear is there, it's accessible, it's usable. And as we move in phase 2, we need, more than that demo, whatever I made, to run in here.
I mean, we could put the Nginx demo for one, and have that available to just run, so that to show it off to people. We could record a short video that says, look, here's the Nginx brought up in the lab. Here are the steps to do it. We did it before, and to run it in the lab took almost no time because of all the work we've done before. and here it is doing that. Post that on the website. Advertise that the lab is real, that you can take one of our POCs that was developed and run it there, or something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be that one, but that one seems to be an easy one. And since it's the one we showed off with videos, it shows last year, throughout last year, or a couple times last year, that might be a good one. We'll open any other suggestions though.
We have a demo that Paul asked if we could do a demo at the one conference, and we could drop that one in, and we could even run the one conference demo from the lab, just like log into it remotely. That might be a great way to tie in the lab into the one conference demo. So
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, drop that down. Yeah, do that.
Okay, so that one's ready. So I'll reach out.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really good. Anything else?
I mean, we need to start the work here on adding a test folder, because we said for now we're not gonna make a test repository. We're gonna start working in here till it grows. And I think we agreed to use PyTest and Python as a framework and the language for the test. So we need to put here a test folder. Like I said, test cases, write them using PyTest and Python. So then we can just have the GitHub runner set basically to do PyTest run test folder, and actually be able to run, right now runs one test, tomorrow 2, 3, 4, whatever we are keep adding. So we don't have, everybody does its own, and then we cannot run all 3, 4, 5 tests together. So please keep in mind that to use Python and PyTest, and probably to start contributing and have a test folder here. And probably we'll need to start doing something like where it was, I had here, maybe like a testbed file, but I mean, this was very rough. I think we can have a better data structure to represent in code set diagram. So then the test is like, hey, I want to run on Bluefield 2 using Arista and using so on. Arista is not even defined here. So the script then can have basically these variables and connect to them.
Right.
User passwords. So far, the regression or whatever the test will use, so this I have to delete from here. We'll use secrets from GitHub. So I think I have something like root password. No, this is wrong here. Anyway, it gets it from GitHub secrets. Let me see if it's maybe in workflows. Yeah, so secrets, root password, and for example, somebody like, I don't know, Boris or whoever has access will add those, and then you can use them in the test.
Okay. All right.
I'll provide feedback whenever the PR is made for adding test. I'll provide feedback, and the first person that tries to add it, yeah, don't get it too hard. It will be a lot of discussions there.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I think we're good for today. We'll pick up next week. Simon with the narrowing down the set of goals.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm unavailable next week, but I think Donald may handle that.
Okay, Donald. So let's pick up with the goals next week.
Yeah.
The narrowing down. Let's start with that next week.
Can I make a request to get the proposed scope that I presented last week merged? It's not it's clearly marked as proposed, and it just would be I have had to send it a couple times around.
Just send a text to Mark Sanders and explain that, and he'll merge it. I mean, again, it's a text document that we want. that is a draft that will have multiple pull requests on it. It doesn't have to be finished before we merge it.
Yeah, if you need extra act, I'm happy to provide it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, let's get that merged. I agree. And let's start next week with narrowing down and saying, here's the release we're going to drive to, and get everyone lined up for that. All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll talk to you in a week. As always, reach out on our many forums of communication if you need anything at all or have any great ideas, and start deciding how we should use the lab. I love the idea of running the Intel driven demo for one ONE1 from the lab. That would be a great thing. And that's it. Talk to you guys next week in this call.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you
nice
much.
Cheers, everyone.